Welcome to the collection of the wildest and craziest AITA Reddit stories of all time. From wild betrayals to shocking twists, these tales will leave you questioning who is really in the wrong. Let's dive in together. The first story for this collection is from loose_alternative_91. AITA for telling my friend that I get hotter men than her. I and my friend R, both 18F, have been friends since high school in sophomore year. She always was quite rude and had a reputation for people not liking her, but I befriended her because I didn't care and thought she might be cool. Throughout our whole friendship, we have been in a trio with our friend S, 19F. I always noticed that she always had side comments that hurt my feelings and never treated S that way. Throughout our friendship, I have constantly brought this up to her and tried make her understand or create some type of compromise because she can hurt my feelings. But she has always dismissed how I felt. She would say that it's how she is. Generally, I was always apologetic, even if I was not in the wrong, while she would never apologize or apologize briefly, such as, "I'm kind of busy right now, I'm sorry," and move on with our conversations. There were other issues also, but in general it seemed that she always had an issue with me, and not with my friend S. For context, on a trip we went to Puerto Rico. We were very new to drinking, and I broke a promise one night. I was a designated sober person, and I broke the rule by drinking, but in my defense, we all ended up not following the rule anyways for the last 2 nights of the trip. Since then, R has repeatedly told me that she does not trust me, which I understand and have worked on. Now, for what happened in the last 3 days, me and S took a 7-hour drive to go visit R in college and to go out with her to the bars and stuff. Now, for context, I am a very messy drunk, and R put down rules that were targeted towards me. The rules were to not leave with any guys and not drink too much. Now I will admit I really f***ed up here. I not only disobeyed the rules, I went to the pizza place next door with a guy. And I also lost her friend's fake ID. I played her back and apologized profusely. And R also has lost one of her fakes at one point. Also, her friend had 2 extras on her anyways. R was enraged with me that night, but we went to sleep fine. The next day, we all woke up and talked about what happened. I told R that I'm very sorry, and she said that she doesn't trust me. I initially said I would not go out that night because I felt bad, but ended up changing my mind and explaining to them that although they want to keep me safe, I believed I could take care of myself. I told R that I also wanted to prove to her that she can trust me again by stating that I would not drink that night. She agreed with me, and so we got ready and left to a different dorm building. The second we got there and saw her friends, it seemed to be a tense atmosphere, but I thought nothing of it. Around 30 minutes later, after R left to do an errand, she pulls me out of the room and then started telling me I can't go anymore. Her reasons being that she didn't trust me and thought that her friends were uncomfortable around me. This made me very upset, but we walked down to the exit. Because I've already had issues with her, I asked if I could take the key or card to enter the dorm because I wanted to go by myself and cool off. She then started telling me no because she didn't trust me. This honestly offended me because it was just opening the door with a key. We then proceeded to argue, and she got mad and left to go back to her friend's room. I got very mad and walked outside while thinking about what I was going to now for the rest of the night. I then decided to go to the frats by myself because I was already dressed and didn't want to spend the rest of my night crying in a random dorm lobby. I got to the frats and got really drunk and eventually was allowed to crash at a friend of a friend's place, which I'm really thankful for. My friends only started to contact me at 2 a.m. when their night had ended to see if I was okay. That morning when I woke up the next day still very drunk, I was feeling retrospective about my relationship with R, and I ended up feeling very upset and sent her a message saying terrible things because I had finally snapped, and her telling me she didn't trust me with a key was my final straw. I'll admit the message went too far. I went for her looks and for the fact that she has a harder time picking up guys than I do, and telling her she is an and has been to me the whole friendship. I knew I wanted to end the friendship, and I felt that our whole friendship she got away with treating me terribly and me allowing it, and this message was a final f*** you because I've had enough. And also the fact that she didn't bother to check up on me throughout that whole night, even when she invited me, and also said she cared about my safety speaks volumes. I think something that shows how she is as a person is her making arbitrary rules about my safety, while also not checking up on me the entire night I was gone, and also aggressively shoving me to the right bathroom out of anger to the point of my finger getting swollen while I was drunk. It hurt S when R read her the message I had sent, because R has always treated S nicer than she has treated me. On the drive back, I explained to S why I will not be friends with R anymore, and S told me that she didn't believe me in what I said about my experience with R the whole friendship. S had made up her mind and took R's side, saying that she wasn't sure if we should stay friends. After arguing for a minute, S started crying and called R, where she then proceeded to tell S to kick me out of the hotel room, and stayed on call with her while she relayed this message to me. After calling our parents, we decided to just stick with the original plan. I really think R is good at manipulation and trying to turn S against me. I understand I made mistakes, but so has she. I am not an evil or malicious person. I think I just hit a breaking point. And I don't think it is okay that R can manipulate S into saying that I'm in the wrong when she has looked down on me and has tried to put me down our entire friendship. S is a really nice person that I still want to be friends with. Am I the OP is not an AH for ending the friendship. Her toxic friend's controlling behavior and continuous criticism cannot be justified. And for the same behavior, I would rate her 3.5 out of 5 on the AH scale. And OP gets nothing. Let's now move on the next story from Laugh Boring 8002. AITA. If I go low contact with my sister because she thinks badly of me. Some background. My 19F half-sister, 32F, moved to another country for study, as her father lived there when I was around 3-yo. She used to come live with us for some time during the summer at the beginning. Now she comes visit for a few weeks, but doesn't stay with us. I grew up in our hometown with my mother and study medicine here for now. Recently, my sister sent me angry texts, which, to me, came out of nowhere, and we had a 3-hour-long online fight. It started by her saying she hopes I fail my exam and called me evil. She called me a bad daughter, sister, and granddaughter, that I do not care about anybody but myself, said I never had empathy, and that she was always fearing I would grow up like this. Her reference is that I would throw tantrums and go scream alone in a room when I was 5. That she's heartbroken and failed as a sister. Told me she has been trying to convince mom to kick me out and cut me off financially. Lots of other painful, unprompted things were said from her, especially concerning subjects which are sensitive topics to me. Now, I never did anything which I would deem deserving of such an outburst. Her main reasoning behind all of it is that I am messy and dirty, and I am not helping around the house enough. It's true that I am messy and can be lazy, but I do not think I am an outlier, as in, much more messy or lazy than an average teenager, or that it deserves this sort of reaction. I am not dirty. There will never be dirty dishes or food found in my room. She has high expectations of what I should do, as in, that I am not going to my grandmother's place to clean, even though she lives with other people fully capable of doing it. And me not aligning with such expectations automatically means I am abnormal and lack empathy. Keep in mind, I am a medical student. I barely have time to sleep. I also do not want to live at home and am planning to move to another city next year. Anyways, it's not like I want to leech off of my mother forever. A lot of her complaints were not actual problems I had with other family members, but random things which bothered her, which I was completely blindsided by. For example, she told me that I do not cook for mom because I don't have empathy. The thing is, I love cooking and offered it multiple times, but mom said no, as she has a different schedule, which suits her more. When I told my sister that, she said people are going to say no, and that I should do it without asking, and it's crazy that I even ask. Again, I already did those multiple times in the past, and the food wasn't touched. I know for a fact mom has no problem with our current setting. All of the examples were like this, and when I tried to explain, she would get angry and say that I am making excuses, and that this also shows my lack of empathy. Basically, whatever I said was used against me and seen in a negative light. She told me that it wasn't a discussion, and that she won't change her opinion of me no matter what I say, that she just wanted for me to realize how I am and fix myself. The conversation ended somewhat amicably as I continued explaining my side, and the conclusion was, guess we just have different ideals and perspectives on life and empathy. Later, she sent me memes and such, and I sent some back. But honestly, I lost my will to interact with her. It hurt me a lot to think that somebody I value and thought I was close to thinks so badly of me and sees me almost monster, and that all of my behaviors are seen negatively and attributed to my personality and never to external factors. I do not see a point of hanging out with someone that sees me so negatively, and I do not think I could even have any fun around them, especially because she said, no matter what, her opinion of me won't change. She's still family. I love her and wish her the best, and will always help her if need be, but I do not want to visit or spend time with her, at least for now. But frankly, I do not see how this could change. However, I am second-guessing my feelings and wondering if they are justified and understandable. I am thinking that maybe I am childish, but no matter how I look at it, I want to be in the company of people who like me and appreciate me and look at me positively. OP is not an AH for going no contact with her sister. It is her sister who is an AH for always criticizing OP, despite knowing OP's struggle with her studies. So, I would rate OP's sister 2 out of 5 on the AH scale, and OP gets 0. Let's now move on to the next story from Prestigious Car 1368. AITA for kicking my roommate's emotional support skunk. I, 21F, live with 2 other girls, Madison, 19F, and Emma, 19F. Madison and Emma were already living together before I was added to their apartment. Our apartment is a 3-bed, 3-bath nearby a university which we all attended. I was told by apartment staff that Madison has an emotional support animal, which was fine by me since I had a cat myself. However, I was shocked to find when I moved in that it wasn't a cat or dog, but a skunk. Apparently, in my state, skunks can legally be registered as emotional support animals. I was completely floored by this and wanted to switch apartments, but my complex said all other open units had tenants with cat allergies, so I moved into that apartment. For this Reddit story, let's just call the ESA skunk J. Before you ask, yes, its scent gland has been removed so it's no longer able to spray. When I first moved in, Madison reassured me that she never lets it outside without supervision and that it was calm and friendly. At first, things were fine. I got along with the girls well, and I rarely saw Jay. Madison said it was because it was intimated by me and my cat's presence, so it didn't want to come out. I felt some guilt about that, but decided to just carry on. Over the next month or so, Jay got more confident and started to venture outside more. One day, I came home to find food littered all over the kitchen floor. I was shocked to find Jay digging through my cabinet and destroying all my food. I found Madison sitting in her room completely unaware that this was happening. Madison stepped in and grabbed Jay. Apparently, Jay will eat anything she'll find, so I shouldn't put food in the lower cabinets or leave anything out where she could reach it. I was shocked because Madison never told me about this, and now all of my food was destroyed. Madison cleaned up the mess and apologized, but she never offered to repay me for the groceries. I didn't want to push on it though, so I just moved all my food from the lower cabinets from that point on. Things only got worse from there as Jay got more and more comfortable. I couldn't leave my door open even for a second because if I did, Jay would run in there and dig through my things or eat my cat's food. Then, Jay developed a new habit of following me anytime I entered our kitchen and crawling over my feet, I guess to see if she could get food from me. One day, when this happened, she bit down hard on my foot, to the point that it drew some blood. I was so scared and Madison apologized profusely. After that, I bought new sturdy slippers hoping to combat this, but Jay would just go for my ankles. And Jay was not just biting me, but Madison and Emma too. I was becoming worried that she would try to fight my cat, so I started to keep my cat exclusively in my room. I could tell this change really affected my cat's mood, and it made me feel horrible. I was starting to become overwhelmed with anxiety over this skunk. I would rarely leave my room, and when I did, I would be filled with dread. I asked my apartment if there were any other open units at this time. They told me no. I asked if anything could be done about the skunk, and they told me since Jay was a registered ESA, they couldn't do much. And so, the complex put me on the wait list for any available apartments. I started to beg Madison to take care of Jay, train it, supervisor it better, just do something. But Madison didn't seem to care. In fact, I don't think she even had a clue on how to really take care of a skunk. Jay had what seemed to me like a mediocre diet, no outdoor time, and little to no training. Madison didn't seem to understand why Jay was misbehaving like this. Apparently when Jay was a baby, it was very sweet and calm. But now Jay regularly would misbehave and was outright aggressive. I also wanted to say that Madison often abused Jay. When Jay would try to bite her, she would slam her foot down atop of Jay. When taking Jay back to her room from the common space, she would grab Jay by the tail and drag it inside. I even saw Madison slamming Jay against a wall at one point. I hated watching that. But I truly didn't know how I could fix this. I wanted to report all this to wildlife services, but I was scared. Would the skunk have to be put down? Would Madison try to get revenge for me speaking out? Yesterday, I was walking into the kitchen when out of nowhere Jay lunged at me. It caught me off guard. I didn't even see that she was in the kitchen. My fight or flight instinct must have set in because I kicked Jay off of me hard. She slammed into the side of the refrigerator and went limp. I panicked and found Madison right away, who took Jay to the veterinary hospital. I felt horrible for what happened and was scared that I might have just killed a skunk. Later that night, Madison came home with Jay. Madison didn't tell me much about what happened medically, besides that Jay was going to be okay. That's when both Madison and Emma set into me. They called me an animal abuser and a callous bitch. They said I kicked Jay on purpose because I didn't like her. Madison threatened to post online about how I abused her emotional support animal. Things got more and more aggressive, and I felt so scared, so I decided to leave. Now I'm sitting in a friend's apartment with my cat writing this post. So, am I the for kicking my roommate's emotional support skunk? OP is not an AH. Rather, her roommate is an AH for bringing her pet along with her. Although legally she was allowed to bring it, she should have considered the other people sharing the room. OP's reaction is 100% justified. She did nothing wrong. So, I would rate OP's roommate 2 out of 5 on the AH scale, and OP gets a 0. Let's now jump onto the next story from Slow-Shake 8142. AITA for being mad over a football game? Redo. I, female 46, dating for the last 4 years, male 48, have always been very straightforward with my feelings. He struggles a lot in that area, but I was willing to wait for him to grow in it with me because I have my weaknesses too. Over the years, there have been several incidents where I felt very low priority. I'm not needy by any means, and have accepted that we may only have every other weekend to spend with each other because our lives are very busy. We both have kids, and we both have our kids the same weeks. We have tried to just take it slow introducing them to one another and figuring out how to spend more time together regardless of when we have our kids. We've had our issues. We've even spent some time apart as we worked through them. I have expressed that his lack of planning and lack of communication in certain areas makes me feel. A few times he's gotten invited to football games. I'm never invited along, and he doesn't think I should be upset about it because he doesn't get a say in who's invited if there are limited tickets. I usually get over it once I've thought about it and just recognize there's nothing to be done. He chooses that, and he should be able to without me making him feel bad. But I told him if there was a compromise, and he got invited to it again, that he could ask if I could be the +1 and not his son at least one time. He agreed to this. Today we were hanging out. I made breakfast for him and his son. I even helped with a radiator fixing and really value time spent with him regardless of what we are doing because I love him. And our time is limited, and I prioritize time with him over everything when I have the time to spend it. I went inside as I was finished helping and sat to wait for him to come in to watch the game. After a while, he didn't come in, and I went back outside to see how things were going, and he announced that they just got invited to the game, which meant they'd be leaving fairly quickly because it was a last-minute invite. My heart dropped as his son was very excited, and I really wanted to be happy for him, but it meant that I'd have to figure out the rest of my evening. We still had a good 3 hours left of hang time before I was supposed to go work by 4:30 nearby. I had planned to watch the game and eat with him as I live about half an hour away, so it wasn't convenient for me to just go home. Plus, I was sad that once again, I was getting ditched for football. We did get some time together, and I feel bad being hurt, however. After he said he was going, I just grabbed my purse and headed out. He always opens my car door, but I was annoyed and just said, "Have fun." I got it and closed the door myself. As I was driving home, tears started to flow as I was again left behind. Not chosen to go to the game and left to fend for myself. I'm a big girl, but it still hurt. I texted very quickly, "I'm really trying to be okay with this." He said, "Don't feel bad, we're not trying to hurt your feelings." I knew there was limited time to discuss how I was feeling, and that I would be dismissed in how I felt or told I was wrong to feel that way. I'm 46. I know how to manage my emotions, but this time I just couldn't take another "don't feel bad, this is just the way it is," without any regard to my plans or my feelings. I have to just accept that I'm low on the totem pole when it comes to things like this. Don't get me wrong, I would never make him miss time with his 19-year-old son. He's missed a lot of time after the divorce when he didn't get 50-by-50 custody. He deserved more time with them because he's a great father. But his son, as soon as he turned 18, moved in with him, full time. And I've just tried to navigate when I get alone time with my boyfriend and when I'm asking for too much. I don't know, I broke up with him today because after all this time, I feel so unloved and underappreciated. I spent a lifetime feeling that with my ex, and even worse. Am I the for feeling bad enough to break up with him and totally blocking him on every avenue? After I expressed how it felt to be left out again, he said, "Well, I guess I messed up again," and hung up on me. He's normally very patient, but I don't think he wanted to feel bad for going to the game. Should I have just let it go and gotten over it? I don't know. OP is not an AH for ending her relationship. Her boyfriend is an AH for always neglecting and hurting her. OP's reaction is valid and completely justified. As for scores, I would rate OP's boyfriend 3.5 out of 5, and OP 0 out of 5 on the AH scale. Let's now move on to the next story from Karma. It's a cat. 13. AITA for leaving my BF, the cats, the apartment, and the country plus never contacting him again. I, 19F at the time, and my BF, 24M started dating. I was only 16Y and still on high school. Meanwhile, he was living with his friend on a house and was on a medical leave cause of a work incident on his finger. At the time, he was the oldest guy that I've ever been with. We liked same things at first view, first one with a car, honestly whole new world. Life went on, he went back to his parents' house, got a new job, I graduated, and then got a job at a restaurant. So as our shifts were really different, we decided to move together. The real problem, I think, is I was a teenager that had a complicated relationship with family. Me and my mom didn't know how to appreciate each other and fight often. In the other hand, his family was picture-perfect church people. I even studied with his brother on high school. I got so caught by this so-called perfect family thing. After a while, I noticed some not-so-cool things, like his mom was way too much overprotective, and he always told everything to that woman, even intimate things, and everything she said was the most truth. The big problem was my dream job, flight attendant. She could find a problem on all of that, even the location, Dubai. She said that was no good. Notice that I live in a South American country in a really small town. Anyways, I tried to tolerate that until the time I got sick during COVID. All my tests were coming negative, but I was terrible. Really high fever, infected throat, no voice, super weak. I missed days at work. I couldn't clean the house, though I was never a good housewife to start. I couldn't even get up the bed. When she came to help one day, it was one of that summer days that the houses feel like an oven. In my country, AC are expensive, so you handle it with a fan and open windows. However, my apartment didn't have protection for the cats in the windows. One of the cats had even already broken their paw and ruined our already unstable finances. So I was not taking any risks again, and all the windows stayed closed. OFC. Noticed that I was the one sick. Noticed that even the cats were lazy with the heat, so I opened the window, but kept close to keep an eye. See how she complained to my BF that I didn't care about her cooking in the heat, and only opened the window after she took a medicine for headache? Anyways, he took her home as always, but took way longer to come back. Once he came back, he came directly to shout at me about what I had done to his mama. I pointed how always that he goes, "See, he's mom, we always fight." He didn't get it. I had no voice to defend myself and no man to take care of me. It was enough. When I broke up with him, we stayed living together for more 2 or 3 W till I get brave enough to tell it to my mom, who took me back in on a beat of a heart. I only took from the apartment what I brought, all the stuff that I bought or got, as gift I left there, as he would live there with a roommate and stay with the cats. I got a job on cruise ships, and as he totally lost his mind, I blocked him on most things, just not on FB, so he could contact me in case he needs something for the cats. But even when I was still on the same country, I never contacted or saw him again. Also, him never did, just tried to talk over silly things and went crazy mode. He donated the cats and never told me, just to my cousin after already done it, went to live back with his mom. Now everyone hates me because I'm successful in my career, saying that I should have helped him with the cats. He never put 1 cent on them when we were together, except for the time that one broke the paw, or with the apartment, etc. etc. But I don't feel responsible. Actually, what I think that really upsets him, it's that he tried to groom me and it didn't work. That now me and my family really appreciate each other. I'm healing and he's still the same. AITA. OP is not an AH for ending her toxic relationship. OP's boyfriend never showed any support towards her, and she had to face criticism from his mother. OP did nothing wrong. So I would rate OP's boyfriend 2 out of 5 on the AH scale, and OP gets 0. Let's now move on to the next story from elegant_walla by _4024 AITA for calling my coworker lazy. I am 30 years old, female, and I work at a very known hotel in the state town I live in. It is one of the most popular hotels in my town, usually full even during the slow season. I work overnights at the front desk. I have been with this company for about 4 months. When I first started this job, this hotel recently got bought by a new company. With new companies, there are always new changes. I know this due to past experiences. Every day I work, I set up breakfast for the breakfast attendants, due to most of the items needing to be out by 3 a.m. I don't mind setting things out. The issue I have is the weekend breakfast attendants. Every Sunday night that I come to work, I go to set up breakfast and there is a mess left in the kitchen. I am talking dirty dishes that have been sitting out all day, the sink never being washed out. So think of slimy, stinky old hard food and grime sitting at the bottom of a giant sink, covering the whole bottom. Then there is the breakfast area that things get left out all the time. Usually, the signs for the breakfast items, and often the half and half container with the milk still in it, gets left out all day. There are more issues, but these are what I can think of at the moment. I know a lot of this sounds superficial and not a big deal, but when you have to do this so often, you start getting irritated by it. Well, I decided to find out who was causing most of these issues. I found out who it was in 2 weeks because they worked on a weekday, where we don't usually have more than one breakfast attendant, and the exact same issues happened on those days. We will call the person Bob, not real name. I started documenting the messes and issues to show my manager, and when I did, I was told to just don't worry about cleaning up after those messes. Just worry about your work and ignore those messes. They are new JJ, me, not real name. It's going to take them time to get the hang of everything. I reminded my manager that I cannot ignore these issues because I am unable to do my job unless these things are done clean. Also, this person started working here 2 weeks after I did, so no, they are not new. My manager asked me to let her deal with this, so I did. After another month passed of these things happening, I stopped doing the things I needed to that involved cleaning up after this coworker. My manager did not seem to care either way. Thankfully, I rarely ever saw this guy due to the days he worked never matched the nights I worked. He would work Sunday morning, and I would work Sunday night, but he never worked Monday morning and so forth. Unfortunately, our main breakfast attendant just had a baby and was out on paternity leave, so Bob was covering a couple shifts, which meant I had to actually see him. I decided that I was going to be civil and remain calm. That morning was a pretty slow morning for both of us, but I had a guest ask about more cups and coffee from the coffee station, and I let them know that I would find the breakfast attendant. I found Bob in the storage closet trying to close a playpen. Out of curiosity, I asked him what he was doing and if he needs any help. He then goes, "Why are you always asking me questions? It's annoying." Now this confused me because we never work in the mornings together, so I was unsure what he meant by always asking him questions, and I told him that I like to ask questions while keeping my composure. He then tells me that he's trying to get the playpen out of his way. I said, "Isn't that playpen usually there?" Due to the last 4 weeks of it being there. Bob then says, "No, it's not usually here. I work every day." No, he does not work every day. He only works 3 days a week. I completely understand being irritated and cussing, but I am not okay with someone cussing at me. So, I went off in a very creepy, calm way. I told him that if he worked here every day, then I would be more miserable because I would have to clean up even more due to him being too lazy to do his job, and that he should be worrying about getting coffee and cups out there for the guests and not worry about a playpen. Then I walked out. I messaged my manager about everything that happened, but I kind of feel like a big jerk. So, AITA for calling my coworker lazy. OP is not an AH. Rather, her coworker is an AH for messing things up and making OP's job difficult. Not only OP's coworker, but also the manager is an AH for not addressing the dispute. As for scores, I would rate OP's coworker and manager each 2.5 out of 5 on the AH scale, while OP gets nothing.